For many curlers, 5 and under bonspiels are their first introduction to bonspiel play away from their local clubs. There's even an increasingly competitive element to 5 and under play, with new curlers dreaming of winning their regional tournaments. In the United States, we even have a national championship for 5 and under curlers every season. While 5 and under events should be mostly seen as a way to gain experience at bonspiels, meet other new curlers, and enjoy the social aspects of curling, we all want to get the best results possible whenever we go away to events. With that in mind, here are 5 tips that 5 and under skips can use to win more games at their bonspiels. Number 1. Keep it simple, skip. When we're playing with new curlers, it's important to keep things simple and straightforward. Long-term plans are difficult to implement when teams are shooting under 50%, and high difficulty shots will rarely be made. This means that we should generally be calling simpler shots that are more likely to be made by our players. Find draws that have plenty of backing, or that might work reasonably well if they come up short as guards. Choose takeouts that don't have to be super precise, or that have multiple potential targets that you'll be happy to hit. This also applies to overall end strategy. Yeah, when you fall behind, it's still correct to throw a guard or two, but try not to get into situations where your team will have to make multiple double peels or runbacks just to have a chance to score. At the 5 and under level, you should bail out sooner, be more direct with your attempts to score, and keep play open more often than you would see at higher levels of play. Number 2, know your players. Generally speaking, it's important to balance calling shots that are based on the ideal strategy and tactics for the situation, with calling shots that you feel your teammates can make. At the 5 and under level, this balance certainly tilts in the direction of making sure your teammates can make the shots you are calling. If you know you have players throwing 3rd and 4th rocks that are capable of making accurate upweight hits, then you can play a little bit more aggressively early in an end, knowing that you can get yourself out of trouble later on. If you have a player who rarely if ever makes hits, it may be best to play them at lead, where there will always be an alternate option even if you think a takeout is technically the best shot. You should try to know as much as possible about each of the players on your team. Do they throw better on the out turn or the in turn? Do they throw far more or less rotation than normal, which changes how much curl they'll get on the rocks? Can they throw huge weight, but lack the touch to make a takeout at hack or board weight? All of these factors can influence your shot calling in both obvious and subtle ways. It can also help to learn your opponent's tendencies early in a game. Many 5 and under games have been won simply by one team realizing the other team can't hit consistently. When that's the case, guards aren't really necessary, especially early in the end. You can just get into a solid scoring position, then either pile on the pressure with the hammer, or protect your steel rocks with guards later on when you don't have last shot. You really shouldn't do this too much in casual play. It's not sporting to humiliate a new curler, but in a more competitive environment, it's fair game to choose a strategy that will help you win. Before we move on with the list, I'd like to talk to you all a little bit about Patreon. Patreon is a site where you can support your favorite creators, including Chess on Ice. I have membership tiers for this channel that start at just $3 a month. By joining my Patreon, you'll have access to exclusive videos once a month where I do a complete breakdown of an end from a recent game. You'll also have early access to videos, have some influence on what kind of videos show up on the channel, and see your name in the credits, which is always fun. So if you want to become a bigger supporter of this channel, the best thing you can do is head over to patreon.com/chessonice. We have a growing number of patrons who are really starting to build a true community around this channel, and who are helping set the stage for bigger and brighter things in the months and years to come. Alright, back to the list. Number 3. Final end strategy matters. For the most part, 5 and under skips should use the MMS strategy, make more shots. While you shouldn't ignore general strategic concepts, you should work around what will help your team make more shots and half shots than the other team, as the side that outshoots the other will likely win most of these games. Once you reach the end game, however, you have to take into consideration what your team needs to do to win. If you're tied without hammer, you have to throw center guards until you have a place to hide, no matter what you think your team does best. If you're down a couple points with hammer, you're going to need at least one corner guard, even if that means letting your opponents build up a strong center. These are situations where you need to take some risk, and there's nothing worse than throwing into the house, assuming your opponent won't make their hits, and then watching them take out your rocks, making it nearly impossible to set up the end you need. This goes the other way as well. If you're in the last end with the lead, don't throw guards, as this will only help your opponent. Even if your front end doesn't throw hits particularly well, it's better to let them try to hit rocks in the house, or peel guards once they're allowed to, than take the chance that they'll put up guards that will give the other team a place to hide their potential counters. Number 4, avoid giving up big ends. A large percentage of games between 5 and under teams are decided by which team scores 4, 5, 6 or more in a given end. Newer teams and skips give up these large ends far more often than more experienced players, but there are some simple ways to reduce the chances of this happening. First, when you don't have the hammer, don't get too attached to guarding a single rock if the hammer team has several stones in the house. Of course it's nice to steal, but when you play in this way, you are risking giving up big ends with relatively little upside. Inevitably, someone will miss a guard, the hammer team will remove your one rock, and now they'll be set up for a huge end. There are also way more big steals than usual in 5 and under play. If you have the hammer, it's fine to try coming around a center guard or play aggressively early. But once your opponent has buried a rock behind their own center guard, you should start thinking about peeling. This is usually far better than trying increasingly difficult draws to small parts of the forefoot or the button. Shots that are likely to only earn you 1 point when they are made, and open you up to multiple point steals when they aren't. Peeling a center guard is the single best way to prevent big steals, as the other team has to throw up a new guard to protect their counting rock. And as we've already talked about, guards are far from automatic at this level, so you may well give yourself a chance to hit that rock on the forefoot later on in the end. Look, if you're already down several points, of course you can ignore this advice, since you'll have to take chances to get back in the game. But in most situations, trying your best to avoid giving up big ends will get you better results. Number 5, enjoy your time as a 5 and under. Now, this may sound like feel-good advice that has nothing to do with winning, but trust me, having a good time and enjoying yourself will lead to better results on the ice. Many 5 and under players put too much pressure on themselves, and those nerves show during games with missed shots, bad weight, or second guessing of calls. Remember, you're playing in these events, and really all the bonspiels you'll play throughout your curling career, because you love to curl. If you're not having fun, why are you even at the event? Get to know people, broom stack, trade pins, and take part in any other activities that are happening over the weekend. Of course, we all want to win when we play. My advice is to go into a bonspiel to have a good time, while acknowledging that winning is more fun than losing. However, even if you go winless on the weekend, you can still enjoy yourself and get something out of the experience, whether that's learning an important lesson or making some lifelong curling friends from other clubs. Those are 5 tips for 5 and under skips. Do you have any advice for newer players looking to take the reins at a bonspiel for the first time? Leave a comment below with your own tips. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share Chess on Ice with other curlers. Thanks for watching, and as always, good curling!